From a whole World Cup squad that went on strike against their own coach, to a severed pig's head thrown onto the pitch, to a captain who waited 3 years for revenge, then wrote it in a book. These are the dirtiest beefs in football history. And first, we gotta talk about the pundit who couldn't let one player go. Cause from the day United paid $89 million for him, Graham Souness made Paul Pogba his whole personality on Sky.
When Pogba comes out and says he can't say what he really wants to feel because it'll get him in trouble. And that's after he's been handed a captaincy, and the manager says he had a monster game after the Leicester game the first time around, but he still shows that kind of dissent. That tells me that he's been offered olive branch and he's chosen not to pick it up.
And it never stopped. For years, every studio, same target.
We all know Pogba's not reached the heights of we all expected. We all have to admit that as punters.
We expect that from a £100 million man.
So Pogba finally said his piece about Souness.
I think we talked, and I said I didn't know who he was, and I heard that he's a legend. You didn't know he played football? It wasn't even bad. I didn't know who it was.
And the next morning, on air, Souness answered him.
So to come out and say you'd never heard of Graham Souness, I thought really was below the belt.
I'm happy with that. The oldest thing in football comes to mind. Put your medals on the table.
3 European Cups will do that, but Souness only needed a microphone, while Manchester City needed a billboard. I mean, when Carlos Tevez crossed town to City, they didn't just sign him. They made all of Manchester drive past his face.
A star striker, one of the world's best, decided to ditch this for this. Not unheard of, but usually they go the other way across Manchester. Not Carlos Tevez, though. He says City's offered him a good future, something United either couldn't or didn't want to do.
United couldn't live with that. Then Sir Alex opened his mouth about him, and it got personal.
I'm not interested. He's not your player anymore, so I have nothing to say about it at all.
16 years later, he came back to Old Trafford for charity, 70,000 booing, and he answered them the only way he knows.
Into Keane. It's a lovely opportunity and it's well finished. Here's Tevez, taking matters into his own hands and maybe single-handedly changing the picture. What a finish from Carlos Tevez. That's smoother when you need it. It's Carlos Tevez. There's the hat-trick.
But Tevez kept it to a billboard and a finger. Mourinho and Conte spent a year reaching lower. See, it started with a handshake held a beat too long after Conte ran the score up on him.
Might be a chance here for Pedro, who's round here. What a start! Hazard's whip. Oh, what a chance for two! Matic is a brilliant ball into Hazard. It's heading high! The back of Kante. It's N'Golo Kante. Oh, fantastic from Kante!
And then it stopped being about football. For a year, they went back and forth in press conferences, digging for the most personal thing they could land.
Maybe sometimes I think that someone forget what said in the past, which is his behavior. You understand?
What never happened to me and will never happen is to be suspended for match fixing. That never happened to me and will never happen.
There was a polite handshake months later for the cameras, in which neither of them ever took a word back. But trading insults is one thing, whereas Craig Bellamy went into a teammate's hotel room. Because on a Liverpool bonding trip, Bellamy decided John Arne Riise had disrespected him. So that night, he paid Riise a visit with a golf club.
I know you're trying to play it down, but of course you've been vilified. You're one of the heroes tonight. How much better does that make you feel?
It's a difficult one for me to talk about, really, because, like I said, I'm close to a lot of the players here. I think because it's me as well, it's made an even bigger deal.
Was your goal celebration spontaneous? And also the second goal, did that show there's certainly no problem between you and John Arne Riise?
The only problem is with you guys, you know, is with you guys. And it's news for you, and I've give yourself news, and that's my fault for that.
Days later, Champions League, the Camp Nou. Both of them scored in a famous Liverpool win, and Bellamy reminded the whole planet exactly what he'd done.
What does it mean to score the winning goal?
Well, I think it was destined for both of us, I think. Both Bellamy and myself had a difficult run before this game, but we put it behind us. We worked for the team, that's the most important.
And did the goal and the celebration show that there is no problem between the two of you?
No, it's not. We put this behind us very well.
This next man used a microphone that he should have put down. Now imagine Liverpool's loudest pundit and Liverpool's greatest forward on Liverpool's own channel. And the day Salah started talking about his contract, Carragher turned on him live on air.
Now, the most important thing for Liverpool Football Club this season is not the future of Mo Salah. It's not the future of Virgil van Dijk, and it's not the future of Trent Alexander-Arnold. The most important thing is Liverpool winning the Premier League. That is more important than any of those players. And if he continues to put comments out, or his agent keeps putting cryptic tweets out, that's selfish. That's thinking about themselves and not the football club.
A year later, Salah on his way out, Carragher went even harder.
Going after the owners initially, these are owners who've been paying him hundreds of thousands of pounds. He's complained a year ago because they haven't given him a contract at the age of 32. He should be doing as much as he can to help the club get out the worst run of results they've had since the 1950s, and he hasn't done that.
And then, he didn't just take the next shot. He called it before Salah even fired it.
He tried a little bit to take on Jurgen Klopp at the end at West Ham. He kicked off because he was substitute. That's where all the problem comes from, because he's been sub. And I've said Mo Salah is more Salah FC than Liverpool FC. And the reason I've been critical of Mo Salah is because the fact he puts himself before the football.
But Ronaldo once got sick and tired of his own manager. Ronaldo had already showed them what he thought, walking straight down the tunnel before the final whistle.
He's walked down the tunnel. I just saw him, I don't know where he's going, but he has walked down the tunnel. And he put 4 minutes of added on time, probably to the dressing room.
Then he sat down with Piers Morgan and held back nothing. The manager, the owners, all of it.
Yes, I feel betrayed, and I felt that some people that don't want me here, not only this year, but last year too. The owners of the club,
the Glazers,
they don't care about the club. As you know, this Manchester is a marketing club. They will get his money from the marketing. The sports that don't really care, in my opinion. The fans should know the truth, should know that the players, we want the best for the club. I want the best of the club. This is why I'm coming to Manchester United. This is why I love this club. But you have some things inside the club which don't help to Manchester reach the top level as City, Liverpool, and even now Arsenal, for example.
Let's start tonight with the breaking news that Cristiano Ronaldo will not play for Manchester United against Chelsea this weekend. The club has confirmed he will not be part of the squad. Now, this comes after Ronaldo left Old Trafford before the end of last night's win over Tottenham. Ten Hag said he would deal with the issue today, and Ten Hag has dealt with it.
The most decorated player alive, gone. And well, Ten Hag got sacked anyway. And it's true, Ronaldo ran his mouth, but Adebayor ran 90 yards. I mean, Emmanuel Adebayor scored against the club that pushed him out. And instead of his own bench, he went the other way, the full length of the pitch, straight at the people who used to sing his name.
Well, that is the moment that he has dreamt about. And he sets off to celebrate like never before.
Now, Adebayor and the fans was personal, whereas Mourinho and Guardiola was a war between two men who used to work together. See, when Mourinho took Real Madrid, the biggest rivalry in football turned into psychological warfare. A touchline brawl, a finger in the eye of Guardiola's own assistant. He needled and needled until the calmest man in the game walked into a press conference and stopped being calm.
Mourinho me ha tuteado, yo también le voy a tutear. Me ha llamado Pep, yo le voy a llamar José.
Y a UEFA lo que pienso, lo que siento, termina mi carrera hoy.
Mourinho only ever apologized for the eye, never the rest. They never made up, and the fixtures just ran out. But Pep took it in silence, where there was a man who wrote a whole book about him. We'll get there. But first, Zlatan went at a teammate's mother, because Zlatan and Romelu Lukaku used to play up front together at Manchester United. Then during a Milan derby, Zlatan found the one thing he knew could make Lukaku completely lose it. And here's the part that makes it dirty. Zlatan went on record later admitting that it wasn't his temper. He aimed for it. But Zlatan's weapon was a sentence, whereas Rafa Benitez brought a sheet of paper. Now, with Liverpool on top of the league and Ferguson in his hand, Benitez walked into a press conference, pulled out a prepared statement, and read his case against the most powerful man in English football out loud.
November 1st, they play against Hull City, and Mr. Ferguson, the manager, was too much touchline ban and fined with £10,000 after confronting Mike Dean, the referee, for improper conduct. We started the respect campaign, and we started with the sending off of Mascherano in Old Trafford for Mr. Bennett. That was the referee that when they play against Wigan couldn't see the handball of Ferdinand. He didn't give a penalty, and they won the game and they won the title in this game. During the respect campaign, Mr. Ferguson, and it's a fact, he was charged for the FA with improper conduct after comments made against Martin Atkinson and Kit Hackett. Atkinson, the referee. He was not punished. He's the only manager in the league, in the English league, that cannot be punished for these things.
He thought he was exposing Ferguson, whereas Ferguson knew he just handed him the title in that room, and he had. And a manager who loses a title in one press conference is nothing compared to PSG, who lost €1 billion front three over who takes the penalties. I mean, PSG put Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi on one team and got a soap opera. A camera caught Mbappe on the bench with a verdict on Neymar, in which he didn't know was being filmed. It nearly came to blows over a penalty. €1 billion done in by penalties. But where Neymar lost the dressing room slowly, Conte torched a whole club in 10 minutes. See, after the Spurs threw away a 2-goal lead, Conte sat down at the press conference and didn't stop for 10 minutes. His own players, his own chairman, 20 years at the place.
Another alibi. You try to find alibi, an excuse for the players. Okay, continue to do this. To find excuse for the players. Excuse. Try to protect every time. We are professional. The club paid us a lot of money. The players receive money. Me receive money. You understand? Not to find excuse and don't have spirit or don't show the sense of belongings. Or don't show sense of responsibility, because we are showing this, and for me this is unacceptable for me.
He didn't burn a bridge there. Just wait for what happened to him next. At the least, Conte lost his temper, whereas Ferguson got inside a man's head without saying a word to his face. Because of the 1996 title race, Ferguson said something to a camera about other teams not trying as hard against Newcastle. Kevin Keegan heard it, and live on Sky, Keegan gave Ferguson exactly what he wanted.
You can tell him now, if you're watching it, we're still fighting for this title, and he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Newcastle didn't beat him to it. And honestly, he'd love to tell you it was nothing to do with mind games.
Yeah, I think where Alex Ferguson annoyed me, it wasn't anything to do about Newcastle. Yeah. It was about the football. He more or less said that other teams wouldn't try as hard against us as they would against Man United. You know, now you call it mind games, call it what you want, but it goes beyond football. That it's insinuating in my mind that teams won't try and they'll throw games. That doesn't happen in England. But I had the cans on and I didn't realise at the time how loud I was shouting. I mean, we laugh at it now.
But the coldest beef in this whole video doesn't have a single quote in it. I mean, John Terry and Wayne Bridge were Chelsea teammates and close mates, until it came out what Terry had done with the mother of Bridge's child. Terry lost the England captaincy. Bridge lost his last World Cup, and then in front of the whole country in the handshake line.
Wouldn't shake John Terry's hand, and indeed, Bridge bypasses.
He did it again a year later on loan at West Ham.
No handshake or even a glance between John Terry and Wayne Bridge. I'm sure you remember why.
No interview, no statement. He just never spoke to him again. Every now and then, one of these actually ends. And this one was definitely quick, as Mourinho called Arsene Wenger a few things across 13 years.
You know, he is a specialist in failure. If supposedly he is right, and I am afraid of fail, is because I don't fail many times. But the reality is that he's a specialist, because 8 years without a piece of silverware, that's failure. And if I do that in Chelsea, 8 years, I leave London, I don't come back.
And Wenger once walked down the touchline and put hands on him.
Down to the touchline, I think it's Mourinho. Wenger has a little bit of a push on Mourinho. To be fair to him, stays on his feet.
Then Wenger retired. Mourinho recorded him a tribute. And seriously, keep that in your back pocket. It's literally the only one in this video that ends with a handshake that meant it. Because this next man has never made up with anybody. Zlatan didn't just fall out with Pep Guardiola. He published a book to finish him. See, Barcelona paid a fortune for Zlatan. Pep then shoved him out of position and stopped speaking to him. So at the end of the day, Zlatan got the last word. And he's never stopped telling the story himself.
And I said to him, listen, if I have too big nose for you, you tell me. If I walk strange, you tell me. If I'm not good enough, you tell me. If you don't like whatever I do, you tell me. I resolve the problem. I leave. I'm not here to disturb. I'm just here to fulfill my dream. And he said in the end, which was cool, don't worry, I'll take care of this. I was like, okay, cool. Everything is done. Next game, I know I'm on the bench. I said, okay, no problem. Second game, bench. Third game, bench. And now I'm getting pumped up because obviously I need to do more to show myself. Fourth game, bench, and then I started to make noise because it's not okay for me anymore. And the fourth game, I bring my Ferrari. So I park the car in front of his office. So you with me, I with you. You want to play with fire, I'll bring you fire, but I will burn you.
Guardiola answered to all of it. For 14 years, there was nothing, which Zlatan took as the scoreline. And then there was one time they were forced into the same room. 14 years, still ice cold. But a book is one man's revenge. Whereas in 2010, an entire France squad went on strike for one. Because at halftime of a World Cup game, Nicolas Anelka said something to coach Raymond Domenech that got him sent home. And the rest of the squad didn't disown him. They refused to train, be on camera, and left their own manager to face the world. Anelka took an 18-game ban for it, and years later, they admitted the thing he supposedly said nobody actually heard. It's not every day that a squad turns on their own manager, but there was a time Suarez broke a promise to one man on live TV. Now, Suarez got an 8-game ban for what he called Patrice Evra. At the return of Old Trafford, he told his own manager he'd make it right with a handshake, and the entire sport was watching for that handshake. Turns out, he never really apologized. And in 2025, Evra named the man he still wants in a cage.
But as of right this moment, do you know who you'll be fighting?
When the PFL asked me who I would like, I say Luis Suarez, because I had a beef with him on back in the day when I was captain of United and he played for Liverpool. He had like some racist abuse. I don't call him a racist, it's just that they use some racist word.
But Evra wants a ring, whereas Conte just wanted to knock on his door, because Conte rebuilt Lukaku's career twice over. At Napoli, they won the title, and what they did on that pitch that day tells you everything about what comes next.
McTominay's up in support, Lukaku might not need it, brilliant run! Fantastic goal!
1 year. After that, Lukaku walked past Conte's office and didn't knock. And then, Conte said the saddest thing a manager could say on TV. Napoli's title defense died in that silence. But Saipan didn't even need a title to detonate a nation. I mean, Roy Keane looked at how Ireland were preparing for a World Cup and didn't like it. Mick McCarthy then pulled him in front of the whole squad, and Keane told his manager, his country, exactly where he would put the World Cup.
Roy Keane and controversy have been fellow travellers for most of his professional career, but his expulsion from the Republic of Ireland squad a week before the World Cup finals is nothing short of astonishing.
A lot of people say, well, it's typical of Roy and Roy should really shut up, but I can't, especially if I'm captain of the team. We come over here, we travel halfway across the world, and the training pitch is a disgrace.
He wanted to do his country proud, he said, but it was hard to work with people who don't have the same motivation as him.
I can't, will not tolerate well, not being spoken to I have
He then flew home before a ball was even kicked. 23 years later, they made a film about it. McCarthy lasted 20 minutes. Saipan split a country, where Ramos split a man's shoulder and then his patience. See, in a Champions League final, Sergio Ramos took Salah down with him, and Salah didn't get back up. His final, his World Cup, gone. Then Ramos went on with a clear conscience. So 3 months later, the UEFA Gala, with Ramos right in front of him, Salah didn't move a muscle. 6 years on, Klopp was still bringing it up for him, but Salah let a stare do the talking. Whereas Mourinho froze this man out in plain sight. Because at United, the most expensive player in the world and the most decorated manager of his era just stopped speaking. Mourinho took his vice-captaincy off of him at a press conference, and the cameras caught the two of them at the training ground refusing to look at each other.
This is the viral footage, isn't it, of when Pogba comes out, Mourinho ignores him.
What he reportedly called Pogba in that dressing room is worse than anything he said on camera. But Pogba and Mourinho owed each other a club, whereas these next two were England teammates. Now, a decade of needle across rival channels boiled over in 2026. Ferdinand posted an old photo just to get a rise, and Carragher's reply in public was ugly. So Ferdinand reached back 20 years for the one thing that would actually hurt him.
Did anyone see what he wrote back to me? I thought it was really, really harsh. I mean, I just put a picture of like us celebrating a goal. This is what happens in these games. You know what I mean? Celebrate big moments. I've scored a couple of goals in these games against Liverpool, but I didn't put one I scored. I didn't put one I was celebrating. I love celebrating. And he's tried to really hammer me. I don't understand why. I thought we've always got on. I've known him since we were schoolboys. He's going to be even more upset now, isn't he? They've just got beat.
Carragher still hasn't answered that one. And Guardiola has a habit of these. We covered the man who wrote a book about him. Well, here's one whose agent put a curse on him. I mean, Yaya Toure carried Manchester City's title era, and Guardiola left him out of the Champions League squad. It had started, of all things, over a birthday cake. Then Guardiola drew his own line in public.
It was so difficult for me to put it out in the Champions League, so difficult. But the day after his manager spoke, in that moment, Yaya is out. Until he doesn't speak, Yaya is not going to play.
Toure later sent City an apology in writing. Guardiola never wrote back. And Toure's bridge stayed burned by one man. Zlatan's been burning for 20 years. See, Zlatan and Rafael van der Vaart were Ajax teammates who couldn't stand each other. And it blew up when Zlatan went through Van der Vaart's ankle for the national team.
Ibrahimovic laat zich van zijn donkerste kant zien als hij smerig doorhaalt en Van der Vaart opzettelijk blesseert.
20 years on, Van der Vaart still won't say a kind word about him. Van der Vaart took his revenge in interviews, whereas El Hadji Diouf does his on live TV with a whole national team behind him. I mean, Diouf and Jamie Carragher were Liverpool teammates. Well, for about 5 minutes, and Carragher's never hit him what he thought of him. Then, Jamie said something on Sky about African football.
The fact he's probably with Egypt and he's probably not playing in the major tournaments as such.
Just say AFCON is a major tournament because a lot of people at home say people not taking that. Say AFCON is a major tournament, just so you don't.
No, well, Egypt haven't won the World Cup, have they?
No, but AFCON is big, wasn't it? Remember when Mane was going for it in the league? I'm just saying AFCON.
It's a fact. It's a fact. If you're in the Euros or you're in the Copa America, it's deemed to be big, so the AFCON's in the same level.
20 years of fire later, Senegal beat England at the city grounds. You found a camera.
This is for Carragher! This is for Carragher! Carragher, Senegal! This is for you, man! Okay? You understand?
Two men who were once teammates. Now, there's still one using his country's wins to settle it. But Diouf at least needed a reason. Cassano fought everyone so completely that Italy made a word out of him. Because Antonio Cassano was Roma's golden boy. And the day Luciano Spalletti became his manager, Cassano told him whose house it actually was. There was a war over the dressing room stereo. There was even a game he refused to play and drove back to the hotel. Roma sold one of the most gifted players of a generation mid-season just to get him out the door. And now, there's an Italian word for what he does to a team. It's his name. But a player turning on his club is one thing, where Sol Campbell did it to a whole fan base. And a quarter of a century later, it still hasn't stopped. Now, Campbell was Tottenham's captain, their academy son. In 2001, he walked out on a free, and the only club he signed for was the one the Spurs hated the most, done in secret at midnight.
Great team, manager, the setup is geared up to win. You know, my contract's run out now, I'm a free agent. I decided I wanted to come to Arsenal.
24 years on, he says it has never let up and that no one's ever said sorry. Campbell got a word for it. For Figo, got something thrown at him that you have to see to believe. And by our own rules, we can't even show you the match. I mean, Figo was a Barcelona god. Real Madrid's man promised the fans he'd sign him. He won, and within a week, he delivered him to the enemy. When he came back, 90,000 people screamed at him for 90 minutes. And there was something that landed by the corner flag that became the symbol of betrayal in football. They never forgave him. And honestly, they didn't want to, because Figo's war was with a fan base, whereas Karim Benzema's was with one man who picked the France team, and it ended in a courtroom. See, Benzema accused the France manager in giving into something ugly, and he didn't play for his country for 5.5 years. For a decade, Deschamps had one cold answer for that. So in 2025, Deschamps dragged the whole thing into a courtroom under oath, and the one word he used there is the word that buried it. He lost the case 2 months later. Benzema fought the man who picked the team, whereas Mbappe fought the men who owned the club, and again took it to a judge, because PSG handed a 23-year-old the keys to the building. Then the president stood up in public and put him back in his place, and the club made him train alone with the players nobody wanted. When Mbappe left for free, PSG didn't wave him off. They sued him for 440 million euros. The court read the verdict. PSG's own counterclaim is the punchline.
Kylian Mbappe has won his case, his legal disputes, long-running, very high profile, against PSG. What's happened? Give us the background.
He left PSG in very, very controversial circumstances. He left on a free transfer to Real Madrid. The last thing PSG wanted was to lose him on a free transfer. They feel that he engineered the move, he ran down his contract, he went back on promises that he would extend his contract so that he could himself secure this lucrative free transfer move to Real Madrid. But basically, PSG have been told by a labour court in Paris that you must pay Kylian Mbappe around £52 million in unpaid salary and bonuses. Now, I think PSG were withholding that £52 million because their argument was, you left us on a free transfer when we could have sold you the previous summer to Al Hilal for 300 million euros.
Everything so far was ego, and this one has a verdict of a different kind. From 2024, Joey Barton ran a months-long campaign on social media against women working in football. Above all, the former England player Ania Luko, and it kept getting worse.
Last week, broadcasters Ania Luko, Lucy Ward and Jeremy Vine won a legal victory when the former footballer Joey Barton was found guilty of 6 counts of sending grossly offensive social media posts.
It ended where beef goes when it stops being a beef. In 2 courtrooms with a conviction, a 6-figure ruling against him, and not one word of apology. Now, the 2 that have never been beaten. Because Roy Keane was Sir Alex Ferguson's captain for 12 years in a wall of trophies. And it all ended over a television interview Keane gave about his own teammates. And what the club did with that tape is the whole story.
For one reason or another, he decided to go and criticise his teammates. And so most of you have not seen that video, but he couldn't release it. We couldn't release it. Ended up with 2 young players being booed before the game in Paris on the Wednesday. And we decided we had to do something. The meeting in the room was, it was horrendous.
20 years on, he was still going at Ferguson on live television in 2026.
You see who's making the decision at Man United. You still have Ferguson and David Gill hanging on like a bad smell.
And the dirtiest beef in football history is that same man. However, on the other end of it, see, in 1997, Roy Keane went to foul Alfing Haaland, got it wrong, and wrecked his own knee doing it. Haaland stood over him while he was down. Keane didn't shout. He waited 3.5 years. Then he ended the man's career on purpose. Most men would take that to the grave. Keane put it in a book, and he'll still tell you about it to your face.
I don't think that tackle was that bad. I really don't. I know it looks bad. You know when a player does a somersault? I was never going to injure him in that tackle. You can't injure a player with that type of tackle. As we know, if you play the game, you know when a fella's trying to injure a player. Yeah. It's just about when someone does a somersault, it looks kind of worse than what it was. And it was a city game, and it was a rubbish game.
And it didn't even stop him. The pundit Keane became turned on Haaland's son.
General play for such a player, it is so poor. Not just today, I think he has to improve that. He's almost like a League Two player.
Erling's answer was 4 goals the next week. And when someone asked him about ever sitting in a room with Roy Keane, the bloodline answered for him.
Erling, I'd like to invite you on my podcast, but Roy Keane's on it as well. Is that okay?
I mean, I think I need to bring my father then on the podcast.
That's not a grudge, that's an inheritance.